Have you ever looked at your relationship and wondered, where did I go? In this episode of Not Just a Story, I'm joined by relationship and intimacy coach Natalie Vartanian for a beautifully honest conversation about what she calls unbecoming the good wife. Natalie shares how, despite being fiercely independent and self-aware, she slowly found herself slipping into old patterns of caretaking, putting herself last, and measuring her worth by how much she could do for everyone else. We talked about high-functioning codependency, inherited expectations, losing yourself inside a relationship, and the difficult work of finding your way back. What I loved about this conversation was how natural it felt. It really was like talking with a friend about the things so many women experience but don't always say out loud.
Welcome to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson, where lived experience becomes meaning and stories create impact.
Hello and welcome to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson. I'm your host, Rose Davidson, and I would like to introduce my guest, Natalie. And she is a certified relationship and intimacy coach with over 4,000 coaching hours and a decade of workshop facilitation. She helps women find their way back to passion, pleasure, and ease after years of putting themselves last. She knows this territory intimately as both coach and practitioner. In 2022, she married Glenn Nielsen, and together they coached couples through wake up and break up from their retreat centre, The Airy. Natalie's first book, To Turn On, releases in 2027. Natalie, welcome to Not Just a Story. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for the stories. I'm still, the last episode of yours that I listened to, it's still stuck with me. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, the title of the topic is Unbecoming the Good Wife, A Return to Myself. So tell me, how did this come about? What prompted you to want to tell your story now, seeing as this is the first time you've actually spoken about it?
Yeah, I have. Honestly, part of it was because I was still in it. I felt like I was in that kind of role and not even realizing I had fallen into that role for a few years. And really I kind of like hit a breaking point, which I think a lot of people do, when it's just like, oh gosh, this isn't working, and then having to do the work to unbecome or to figure out how I became it in the first place, and then how to unbecome it because it's not who I am. It's not even how our marriage is set up, but I just found myself sliding into that. And so it just felt important to talk about it, um, because of the kind of societal pieces. Like, we don't realize how much culture and society and the things that we were taught and watched and read and things like that about relationships, like we absorb that stuff. And even though consciously it's like, I'm not going to do that, I just found myself like sliding right into that role in that place. And yeah.
It happens though. It's unfortunate. We, through the courting phase, I guess, are wanting to give our best side and show our best side. And once we get married, we sort of slide into this comfortability, and we think, what we were showing in the courtship side is not the real true ourselves. So when the marriage comes, we start to actually be ourselves and then find ourselves doing stuff that we wouldn't normally do. We don't portray our true self. And I think for women especially, I've found that we tend to slide into this comforting role, and we tend to lose ourselves because we're trying to be all things to everybody.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And that part I relate to. I mean, I felt like, and maybe this was the part that was disorienting for me, because I felt like I had done so much work to kind of unbecome that with my friends and business partnerships and things like that, because I do have a very strong caretaker part of me, oldest daughter, just like I was literally trained to like make sure everyone else is okay,
Yeah.
like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And then maybe I can think about myself. And so it felt like I had done that for the most part. And even when I met my husband, we were friends for 8 years. So in that way, like we were showing all of ourselves. Like he knew what he was getting into, I knew what I was getting into, and then, but like you said, it was just something about when we got married and what that meant.
Mm.
And then I felt like I just became all of the women in my history, right? That like, especially as an Armenian woman, like it's very like you serve the man, and it just, I was like, what am I doing? It just was a like, I'm doing all the cleaning and I'm doing all the chores and I'm doing all the tasks and I'm doing everything. I'm like, what am I even doing?
Yeah, well, we,
Like,
we we tend to mirror our past generations. So what our mother did, what our grandmother did, and going back and back and back, and it's like it's an inherited being, and so we take those things that we've learned as children into our adult life and then into the relationships, and and unlearning those things can be quite challenging.
oh, it does. It all of the identity pieces. I remember when I really became aware of it. And then the idea of not being that role felt so threatening because I was like, oh my gosh, but if I'm not doing all these things, what value do I have? What worth am I bringing? How am I evenly contributing? It kind of became this transactional conversation in my head and truly feeling like I'm not going to be loved anymore if I
Mm,
don't behave in this certain manner. It was I literally thought like, oh man, this might break my marriage if I'm standing up for myself, or advocating for myself, or it just, oh, the mind went just nutso, just kind of like
yeah,
all the
I
like,
can
don't
get
do
it.
it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I've just recently separated from my husband, and I was the giver, the caretaker, the everything person, and you know, he just took it, and I mean, he did contribute. I got to say that I can't say that he didn't, but it just felt like I just lost myself because I was a mother, I was a wife, I was the carer because he got ill, and just all these other things. And when I just got tired of, where's me? Where have I gone to?
Yeah.
Where do I
Yeah.
fit into this thing now? Because I want things for myself, but it didn't feel right for me to go out and get them because I'd been in that carer role for such a long time that I
Hmm.
just didn't think that I deserved any of those other things, and it becomes really
Yeah.
challenging for us.
Oh, I mean, not that I love that you said
Yeah.
this because it's sad, but I love that you pointed to that part of it just so hits our worthiness and
Mm.
our deserving. Like, can I be loved just for existing, for just being a loving being in the world,
Mm.
or is it always going to be tied to my accomplishments, my accolades, the things I do, how much I take care of you, or what you get out of this relationship? It's gosh, I don't know. It's been probably the most disorienting thing that I've experienced because it just like it felt like I didn't even have control of it at some point.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of was like a river that I got like thrown into. And now I'm just like going down the stream, and the rapids are happening and I can't get to the banks or the shore, or I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna ride this out until I don't know where.
Yeah, it really tears you apart because you just don't know what you're doing for the best. I mean, if you're an independent person like me and like yourself, and you're high functioning, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're not those things anymore, what happens to you? It took me a few months to realize that yes, I was worthy of all the things that I wanted, and I was allowed to have them, even though in my mind, while I was married, I didn't think I was allowed to have all this independence and But really,
Mhm.
marriage is you're not glued at the hip. You are still two independent people, and you should be
Right,
able to live your life that way.
right, right. And this is what I mean by like my husband and I even had like our vows kind of espoused that. And I know we believe that
Mm,
about being two fully expressed people in the relationship,
mm,
right? That you still are you, you still have your passions and your visions and your dreams, and I do mine. We support each other. But there is this, a wise woman once told me that you train people in your life how to treat you,
mm,
right? And so I was training my husband to be dependent on me, right? I was training him to not kind of really like go the extra mile for things because I already got it, right? I've
yeah,
already taken care of it. I'm running circles around, I'm a multitasker, as most women are, right? Like I can do 5 things in 2 hours. Like it's going to take you an hour,
yeah,
and so it just, I was like, oh my gosh. And that was also humbling to be like, I can't just blame it on my husband for like not appreciating me enough to kind of like balance out our relationship, but that I created this too, like I trained him
yeah. I did the
to
same.
rely
I
on
did the
me.
same. Yeah, you and I are very, very similar. I trained my husband to
I
be
know.
to be dependent on me, and he couldn't function without me, if, because he relied on me to do everything. He was a total technophobe, so I had to do all the banking, and
Oh,
I did the
right.
grocery shopping, and I did all the other stuff. And even when I was sick, I was still still doing all the things I needed to
Yeah.
do, even though mentally and physically I was just really not very capable of doing it at all. But I just kept pushing through, and in the end, I got burnt out in the end, and just had to give up and just say, throw my hands up and say, can't do it anymore.
And that takes so much courage to do when we don't know what lies on the other side of that. And that feeling of like, am I making the right decision? Like we doubt ourselves of like, am I being drastic? Am I being too much? And, like all those questions too of like,
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So what would you advise, people to find that independence and you know don't become the doormat?
yeah, I think for me, the first step is having a practice of checking in with yourself because I just didn't check in with myself. I got so in the habit of the doing and kind of go, 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 go that I didn't really sit down enough to be like, how am I feeling? Is this working for me? Like, am I vibrant and alive? Am I feeling aligned with the things that I'm doing? I was just so aware that I was just unhappy,
Mm,
and so I guess the flip side to that too is like to question those things of like when we feel frustrated or when we feel angry or when we feel sad or it's like there's usually something deeper going on.
mm,
We just don't stop or pause or ask ourselves those questions because again, we don't even feel like we deserve that kind of like attention for ourselves to be like, hey, you doing okay, Natalie? Like, is this working for you? And so I feel like that first part is like that deep self reflection and that
mm,
self-analysis to like have a relationship with yourself in that way.
mm,
And then I feel like the second part, which was really helpful for me personally, was um, I do have a good cohort of women that I've known for a really long time, some of my closest friends. And it just kind of got to this place where I had to ask them, like, be honest with me. What are you seeing? What are you seeing in the way that I show up in my marriage? What are you noticing?
mm,
And it just one after the other, they were like, you don't feel like yourself anymore.
mm,
Like you're not like the bright, big, bright, vibrant Natalie that we've always known, And so it was just this sobering but also relieving thing of having the reflections from the people that know me well, to be like, am I being myself? Am I living my life? Am I and that really was that last piece for me that had me, I was already starting to do the work, but just really double down on like, okay, I have a very high functioning codependent part, and I really need to look at this and untangle this and like get real
Yes.
about like what's happening for me.
Yeah. And I also believe too, good communication with your partner is, you know, if you're feeling a little bit frustrated or you're not knowing about, um, you know, your feelings and how you're coping with life, I think having that open communication is helpful. And but sometimes I get the point too that it can be frightening to ask the question because you might not like what you hear.
Right. Yeah, and it was. And I usually am not one to be afraid of the questions, but this felt so just kind of like, man, this could totally turn my world upside down if I really kind of asked those questions and went down that path. And I think because I agree with you about the communication, and I felt like I was communicating, but I wasn't communicating again, like what was kind of going on deeper. I was communicating my frustration. I was communicating the things that I like needed from him to kind of step up, but I had honestly rose an edge, and I was just mad. And so the way that I would communicate wasn't kind, it wasn't clear, it wasn't, you know, and so the when I started to untangle this was when we finally had that conversation of like, babe, I'm just realizing I just have let my codependent part run the show, and I don't like the version of myself I've become. I don't recognize myself. I had to get so vulnerable and real and transparent about what's happening so that he could partner with me in that healing process, right? Of like, I think I even literally said, I'm gonna need your help because this is so automatic for me.
Mm,
It's so automatic for me to take everything on, like I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes.
mm,
And like so and he started to see that and he got that and he's like, I would never want you to not be your full self. Like I don't have these expectations of you. I don't, but we just got in the dance, right?
yeah.
And we were just doing the dance.
Yeah, and it was important too that you were friends first too, because that does help a great deal. I think that if you can rely on that friendship, even if the feelings diminish slightly or you become a bit uncomfortable, that vulnerability, come on, Rose, um, can be helpful if you're friends because you can rely on that to become unstuck.
Oh, we've had to rely on that so much because we just had like one crazy thing happen after another after we got engaged. It just felt like life was like, oh, okay, we're gonna fast track you and give you all the most challenging things you can deal with, like that any human could deal with and then any couple could deal with, and we'll just see how you guys do, and we did a couple of times. I was just like, I miss my friend. Can I have my friend back? Because
Mm,
right now, whatever is happening in this romantic kind of exchange or this like we're married thing, I'm like, I miss my friend. I just want to be able to like tell you how I'm feeling and you just like listen or just care or, like you would to anybody and not because we get defensive, we feel like it's me and all the things that kind of happen when it's a romantic partner.
mm,
Um, and I really encourage people when they start dating, even if they're married, it's like, can you just really focus on actually fostering a friendship?
mm,
More than anything, because that's the foundation, that's the base to build
mm.
everything off of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally 100% agree. Um, my next question is that you don't, I know you don't want to speak about Glenn's role in all this because that's his story to tell, and I respect that. But
Oh, it's okay, I can share. He's fine.
okay, so how did he feel about, you going about finding yourself and, doing all the work that you've done to get yourself to where you want to be in life?
hmm Um, I mean, I'll be honest, in the beginning it was hard for him because what he was hearing me say is, I'm not happy,
Mm,
right? Which is what I was saying. But how he interpreted that was,
yeah.
you're not making me happy. This marriage doesn't make me happy. This life we're living doesn't make me happy. And so his guard went up, his defenses, his little ones in there were just like, she's going to leave us, and he was so scared of that. And so it was rocky for a while, until, like I said, until I just kept having the conversation and just being like, okay, how else can I have this conversation? How else can I say this? I mean, it really helped when I started therapy because I was able to start teasing things apart. Um, and I'll make a plug for internal family systems therapy, IFS. It's gorgeous because it really highlights that we have all of these different parts in us
Mm,
that will react or respond to different things. Some of them are protecting us, some of them are managing things, some of them are like the wounded parts. And so I was able to really speak about my experience in a way that didn't feel personal to him
yeah. And that is the
because it would just,
hardest
yeah,
part.
it's the hardest part, Rose. Oh
Yeah,
my
it
God,
is.
it's the hardest
Absolutely.
part.
Because they do get defensive when you want to speak about your feelings and how unhappy you are because they think, oh my God, they're going to leave me and I'm the cause of their unhappiness. And it's really not that at
Yeah.
all. It's just something that's within us that isn't being satisfied.
Right, right. And to really parse out that I'm not happy with whatever this is that we've set up,
Yeah.
right? It's not you, it's not our marriage, it's not where we're living, even though all these things have been challenging. But I was like, I'm not saying I don't want to be with you. I'm not saying I don't want us to be married to you and do life with you. I'm literally just saying the way this has been set up is not working for me. And I would like to find a way. I would like to find a way with you together to do a different dance.
Yeah, men hear things differently than how we say them. I think they interpret things so much differently than what we intend. I mean, my husband was the same. It's just that, like, I'd say something in my deepest feelings and how I was feeling, and he'd just get all up in arms and think, and he'd just make up his own mind of what I was saying and put words in my mouth that I didn't even say. And it used to cause so many arguments because, in actual fact, I was trying to be quite open with him and he was just shutting me down and criticizing me for having feelings. And it was awful.
Mm.
And,
Oh, it's awful. It's
men,
awful.
I'm not saying all men, I'm saying most men
No, yeah.
most men
Hmm.
are like that because that's how they've been trained because they're not trained to be
Yeah.
vulnerable and open about feelings and talking about stuff that really matters.
No, I mean, even the ones that do go learn it, because I mean, that's the thing. I met my husband in those kind of spaces. He was like learning the feminine, he was
Mm.
doing all these things. But I'm like, honestly, Rose, it's the craziest thing. Doesn't matter how much training you've done, doesn't matter how many hours I've coached or he's done therapy with his clients. We get into that room, we get into this relationship, it just all goes out the window, right? And all of a sudden, we're just two 9-year-olds, just like duking it out.
Yep, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Valerie, not Natalie, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I had
Oh,
Valerie on
that's
the brain
pretty.
for some
No, it's
reason or
fine.
other. Now, tell me a little bit about your coaching practice.
Yeah, I actually started my coaching practice specifically working with women around love, like wanting to find their person. I just have always been obsessed with love, like since I was probably 12. I just have been obsessed with like love and relationships. I mean, if you're into astrology, it might be like I'm a Pisces, like we love love. We just have like rose-colored glasses on all the time. I just was like, and which was weird given I didn't see that growing up. I mean, I had probably had the worst example to see growing up, of what a relationship was, but there still was this part that believed that could still happen for me. And I just needed to find the right person. And So my coaching practice started with that. I mean, definitely ballooned in that I'm a life coach and I kind of literally whatever it is a woman's working with, whether it's like I want to become an entrepreneur or, kind of like life transitions, life changes, evolving to the next phase of who they are or how to be in relationship. Um, but the through line has always been working with women around how to be their most fully expressed, powerful, confident selves when they're looking for their partner and or when they are with their partner. Because the more we know of what we want, the more we can attract that, the more we can recognize it when we see it, and not choosing from our past or our past relationships or what we saw from mom and dad, and so it was just a lot of like deep healing work with women to unpack a lot of that and find out what it is they want for themselves, not like what mom and dad want, not what my culture wants, not what society wants, but like you specifically, what do you want in a relationship? Like
Mm.
we can design that, we can curate it, you can have it however you want.
Yeah, that I agree, and I think a lot of women are a bit loath to go to get counselling or to get coaching because they don't want to be vulnerable.
No,
Mm,
it's scary. It is. It definitely is.
absolutely.
I mean, I still for a long time thought of vulnerability as a weakness. It's like you don't show someone your underbelly, they can poke it or they'll like use this information later against you somehow. Or
Yes, absolutely. Natalie, you can be found on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and your website at This Turned On Life. So .com. What can people find on your website?
So on my website, I talk about my coaching work. I also do tarot readings. That's just a fun other way that I like to kind of help people get deeper and find the messages that they need. I talk about the couples work that Glenn and I do there, and I also talk about my book. So pretty much like all the fun things I'm up to, you can find on my website.
Oh, wonderful. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for sharing about unbecoming the good wife. It was really fascinating conversation.
Oh, thank you, Rose. I know. I hope it resonates in the way of like, oh, yes, that's what I'm doing, and I can do another way.
Thank you for listening to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson. If something in this episode stayed with you, you're invited to reflect on your own story, in your own way, in your own time. And if you feel ready, you can share your story through the Impactful Voice Project at rosedavidson.com.au. This is a space where lived experience is honored and stories are shared with care. Until next time, your story matters.